Hello and welcome to the Bronco Exchange. I'm Dr. Shanessa, Fenner, your host. And of course I have Police Chief Troy McDuffie here for part 2 of our conversation. Welcome back, Troy.
Thank you.
Let's talk a little bit about the crime rate in Spring Lake. What can you tell me about that?
I'm pretty proud of if we want to take any positive out of crime. Okay. You know, I'm pretty proud of the policing that the men and the women go out and enforce in Spring Lake. Our crime rate, our stats, up against some of the local communities is probably fairly low. Our major crimes, not to say that crime can peak at any time, but I just have to attribute the job that the men and women of the department, their interaction again with the community, our community policing efforts goes a long way in keeping crime down in Spring Lake.
How many police officers do you have?
Full strength, we have approximately 35 sworn police officers, myself included.
Okay. How many females?
Females, we have one female at this time.
Oh, just one?
Just one,
oh,
yeah.
My goodness.
Female recruits are difficult to recruit. Okay. You just do not have a lot of females that have interest in getting into the law enforcement profession. And those that do come into the profession, typically it's a little bit more difficult for your smaller departments to recruit them to small departments. Your larger agencies, typically you're going to see more females in their agencies because they just have a larger pool to choose from.
Now, how does she adjust with all those men and everything? I mean, that's interesting. You've got 34 men and one female.
I think this just, regardless if it's a male or female, a police officer is a police officer. Okay. And there's just that certain level of respect. They go through the same training as their male police officers. And I've never seen that as an issue with the female adjusting to working around a bunch of men and that.
Yes.
Talk,
I was wondering, because she didn't have anyone to talk to or she can relate to. I was just wondering, so just being the only one.
Never, again, just never seen that as a problem. It's just a problem, again, just as at times it can be difficult recruiting minorities into policing.
And why is that, Troy? Why is it difficult?
I can't answer that question. You have a select group, whether it's minority, whether it's females, that just do not have an interest in certain professions. I would love, to see, more, young men and women of minorities, female, to show an interest in the profession, because I think it's important that there is diversity, within your agency, and that's one thing that that I'm very, proud of, is the fact that Spring Lake is a diverse community, but we also have a diverse department that polices the community. I think that's important.
And I do know that we do have an increase on the black female police chiefs. I've noticed that. And that's
something
that's great.
Yes, yes. Our majors, your major cities in North Carolina are now led by, minority females.
Now, Troy, how do you become a police chief? What's the process? Is it something that's very challenging and hard to do?
I don't think, there's I don't think I could draw out the steps, I just feel that, it just takes a lot of hard work, a lot of determination, and just setting your goals as to how far or what you want to be in the law enforcement profession. I'll be honest with you.
What you do?
My goal, starting in law enforcement, was not to one day lead a police department.
Oh, really?
That was not something that I set out. But as I look back on my career, and I'm going to get a little spiritual with you, I feel it was something that was always in me. I think the Lord knew before I knew. Well, I don't think, I know He knew before I knew, even when I was a child, that you were going to lead. I've always been one, I've always had that passion for protecting others. And as my career progressed, it just carried on, throughout my career. And I've always believed that I tell the police officer that work up under my leadership, just come to work, do your job. But that passion, I think that certain level of passion really pushes you, further and probably leads you into the direction of one day leading a police department.
I know that you're very big into the youth. I know you visited my school to speak with my babies about different things, and you've of course came to help facilitate awards programs as well, passed out certificates as well. So talk to me a little bit at Troy about what are some of the things that you talk with our youth about that's very, very important and key? Well,
probably the most important thing, is just, your babies, the small kids, you talk to them about, from an early age, just listening to, their parents, just doing what's right. And I think that continues to carry on until, your middle school years, your high school, and then that's where you focus more on the specific things, the laws, things that they have to try to shy away from. They have to shy away from getting involved and associating themselves with the wrong crowd. Spring Lake as a whole, versus some of the other communities that I have policed. It's a good community, for the youth. Right across from the police department, you have basketball courts. They've invested in a large recreational center, and those things go a long ways. And keeping the youth involved, giving them some things, to do in their leisure time, just sort of eliminating that idle mind time.
I think one question that I like to ask that's very important. When you're stopped by the police, Troy, what are the proper steps to take? What should you do? Whether it's in the nighttime, because of course there's a different set of rules at nighttime because you all can't see when you stop,
right?
Versus the daytime. What are the proper steps one should take when being stopped by the police?
Well, it's fairly simple. Really. Well, it sounds simple, to me, but just basically, just obey. Just do exactly what what the officers instructed you to do. If you see the blue lights flash behind you, pull off to the side of the road. Some agencies will advise just to place your hands on top of the steering wheel.
Is that what you should do? Place your hands on top of the steering wheel?
I would encourage that.
Okay.
But I don't want to send that message that the public should feel like that they are being put in a hostage position.
Exactly.
Before the officer even approaches.
Okay.
Just remain calm.
Okay.
Don't make any sort of movements, and you can just keep your hands visible. Instead of putting them on top of the steering wheel and feeling like that you're already being detained. But just remain calm and just answer the officer's questions. If you feel you haven't done anything wrong, or if the question comes, well, why are you stopping me? I can't say you can't ask those questions, but just allow the officer to sort of direct you and just answer to his responses. And I always tell the public, citizens, if they're not satisfied with the conduct of the officer or how they were treated, on the side of the road is probably not the best time, or it's not the best time to address it. most departments, definitely the Spring Lake Police Department, there's policies, complaint policies in place, and I always encourage citizens. If you're not satisfied, if you're unhappy with how you were treated, bring that to the department, bring it to myself. Eventually, that's where it comes. It may not come directly to me, but bring your concerns and your complaints to the leader of that department. And I can assure you, in Spring Lake, certainly you'll be listened to. And that's a message that I try to send to the community. That's just one way of letting them, you know, or building that trust within the community. Just listening to them.
Because I know that that is something that is of concern.
Mm-hmm.
I was
Yes,
talking with the sheriff yesterday. He came to speak with my students at the school, and he also mentioned that you make sure that the other passengers in the car, you know, they need to be quiet.
Be quiet, yeah.
Because sometimes they're the ones who can, you know, stir things up and get
Right.
things going, you know. So you want to make sure that your passengers, they need to hush.
Right.
As well.
You know, and it's just good advice. You know, I myself, you know, as I drive an unmarked vehicle, and even I, you know, I'm not prone to being stopped by a police officer. As a matter of fact, I was stopped a couple weeks ago.
No.
Yeah, but you know, exactly.
Wow.
You know, but again, I was not upset. You know, the officer approached me in my car. He asked a question. I explained to him. My first, you know, typically my first response, because I knew I had not done, or I did not do anything wrong, would have been, hey, why are you stopping me? But no, I did not do that. I allowed him to approach. He was very professional. He was courteous to me. He asked a question. As soon as I gave him an explanation, that was all he needed, and of course, we parted ways.
Did you let him know that you were the police chief of Spring Lake?
Well, once he, after he approached the car and he saw who I was,
okay, got it.
he recognized it.
Okay, I didn't know that. I just, you know, didn't wanted to make sure. That's interesting.
Yeah,
okay,
very
so
interesting.
You were stopped. Oh, okay.
Exactly.
All right. Was it nighttime or daytime?
It was nighttime.
It was nighttime. Okay.
It was
Just
nighttime.
thought I'd
Actually, on my way home.
Okay.
On my way home from work.
Oh, really?
Yeah, not too far from my home.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's say someone is watching, Troy, who indeed would like to be a police officer. Okay. What kinds of words of advice would you like to give them in reference to wanting to become a police officer?
Make sure that they want it for the right reasons. You know, I think some candidates come into the profession for the wrong reasons. And I think some of the examples that we have seen nationwide are as a result of, I just feel like, officer, you're in it for the wrong reason. But, you know, I always refer back to that passion. I just feel like that's just so paramount in what should be in a police officer's character, the passion of protecting and serving. And that's something that's, I think that's instilled, it's instilled in me, and it will always be there. So just make, you know, just try to ensure that, okay, this is what, you know, I want to do, because, you know, we all know, you know, you're not going to get rich. You know, you can live, you know, a comfortable life, but it's just not a profession where, you know, you're going to make a whole lot of money. It's not just about, you know, the money, but it's about, you know, caring. It's about protecting. It's about serving, and it's about having that true passion, you know, in your heart, of wanting to, you know, really, again, protect and serve others.
Okay. Well, Troy, I thank you so much for coming on my show.
Well, you're welcome.
We've had a wonderful time as always. Thank you for always coming to my school to talk to my babies, as well as helping out with different events that we have.
Most certainly.
Okay, and of course, I wish you well and loads of success.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
And thank you, audience, for tuning in to the Bronco Exchange. I'm Dr. Shanessa Fenner. Have a good one.
Familiar stranger, wait, hold up, don't run, I don't